In this task, I'll introduce the Spatial geodatabase format. Spatial spatially enables the SQLite database so that you can store geospatial data in a relational database. And it's a very intuitive and portable database format. So right now I have QGIS Desktop open, and I'll click the Add Spatial layer button. It's the one with a little feather on it, which is the Spatial icon, and it brings up the Add Spatial Tables window. So what I want to do is click the New button to form a new connection to a database. And I'm going to navigate to the Lab 1 Data Geodatabase folder and select the database file, which is ngd.sqlite. And click Open. And then I'll click the Connect button to connect to the database. So very simply, I've connected to this database, and I can see that there are two layers in it. NHD Flowline, which has a line icon, so you know that's a multi-line string geometry, and NHD Water Body, or Lakes, which is a polygon layer. To add these to QGIS Desktop, I simply will hold down the Control button and click on both layers and click Add. And both layers are added to QGIS. And from this point on, they will act like any other vector layer in QGIS. Now I'll import a shapefile into the database. To do that, I'm going to go to the Database menu and open up the Database Manager. This is a core piece of QGIS and allows us to connect to several different databases. You can see there's a PostGIS section, which is a enterprise level geodatabase, and Spatial, which is a much more portable database. I'll expand Spatial, and I'll see that my connection to the NGD database is there. I can expand that, and I'll see all the files in that database. Among them is the NHD Flowline and the NHD Water Body. This database manager is very similar to QGIS Browser. I can select the NHD Flowline and get some information about this data set, and I can click the preview window to see a preview of the geometry. And the same with NHD Water Body. And I'll notice that there's a lot of other tables in here beyond these two layers. I can tell these are the layers because they have icons, a polygon icon for this one and a line icon for this one. These tables help store the geometry and the coordinate reference systems of the GIS datasets in the database. So to import a new layer into this database, I simply click the Import Layer button, and I'm going to navigate using this ellipsis button into the geodatabase folder and find this NHD point shapefile. Click Open. Here I need to name the output table. So when this is imported into the database, it will become a table, and I'll call it NHD point, same name as the shapefile. I want to make sure that Create New Table is checked, and I want to make sure that I import this with the correct spatial reference ID. So I'm going to check this box and type 4269 in there. On the way, I can choose to create a spatial index for the layer if I like. Once I have this all set up, I can simply click OK. I should get this message, import was successful. I'll click the refresh button. And I can see down here my NHD point layer has been successfully imported into the database. Now to add this to QGIS, I can right click on it and choose Add to Canvas. And voila, I've got my new Spatial data set imported and added to QGIS. Finally, I'll bring up QGIS Browser. In QGIS Browser, you see your hard drives listed on the left, but you'll also see database connections down below. So there's an option here for Spatial. I'm going to click the refresh button, and I'll see that my connection to the NGD SQLite database is there, and I can expand this, and I'll see my three layers, the two that were in there originally, and the NHD point layer that I just imported. So you can see this is a very easy to use and intuitive geodatabase format. It's easy to add data to QGIS. It's easy to import shapefiles into it, and it's a great little database. In the next task, you'll examine the coordinate reference systems of the lab data.